What is going on, everybody? I'm Jason. I am joined again by John, who took like 12 weeks off. He is a little off today, so everybody just be patient. We are here. We skipped the cover girl because we covered it back in 2022 when Mr. Gilliard passed away. But yeah, John, how are you? You join any biker gangs?
I have not joined any biker gangs. Actually, there is a side note that I'll bring up to that in a minute. But yeah, I want to say it's great to be back. Last week was not here, was on vacation, came back, just needed to recharge the batteries, visit mom and stepdad and whatnot. So it's great to be back in the saddle and pumping out some great content. And as you said, we are skipping an episode because in the actual season 5 listing, you will see that the cover girl should be the episode that we are indeed doing. But we covered it in November of 2022 when Clarence Gilliard Jr. passed on. We kind of picked that as an episode that we wanted to feature because he was very, very heavily in that episode. His role was very meaty for that one. And so we're going to encourage you to go back into the archives and listen to that episode, as we're just going to move on and talk about the next episode after the cover girl, which is called The Biker. And, so yeah, definitely please check out the cover girl. Go back in Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcast. It's in there. I just double checked it a few minutes ago before we went live that it was still there. And actually, I also want to know what date it was because I forgot. Yeah, so that's enough about me. Jason, how are things with you, man?
I'm about to do your favorite thing, John, and I just plugged the PVD cast. So a few weeks ago, we talked on the PVD cast about MeTV's Tunes channel that was dropping. So I got ready, man. I woke up early on Tuesday. I tuned all my channels on my TV to get the new antenna channels, and MeTV Tunes wasn't there. So I jumped on the website and I looked, and Cleveland and Cincinnati have the over-air MeTV Tunes right now. We don't have it in Columbus, so I had to sign up for Friendly, which is another app that like has game show channel and a few other things, Hallmark. And I had to sign up for it there. But man, I've been watching Beetlejuice, Police Academy, all these animated things that are just wonderful. And it's been a great way to change up my mornings.
You know what? We need to email WBNS 10 TV because that's who has the license for MeTV here in Columbus, Ohio, and tell them to get off their duffs and get that channel going.
That's right. I mean, it's worth the $7 I'm paying right now, but it's even better if it were free.
That's right. You know what? I urge all the Mattalkers out there that are listening to us or watching us here. Yeah, WBNS TV in Columbus, Ohio. That's who you need to send an email to and say, hey, because if they're doing it to us, they'll probably do it to you. You may be in Omaha and you may have to pay that $7 instead of getting it free, or Spokane, or whatever city you are in. They may be cheating you. Your TV. That's right. Your senators, Justin. Yes. All right. Anyways, but yeah, definitely. Let's get this going here because I woke up the other day when it was first supposed to start, and I ran through the channels and didn't see it, and I thought, well, maybe something happened. And then later on that day, you had texted me and gave me the 411, and that's crappy, man. That's crappy.
A lot of real Ghostbusters, lots of Inspector Gadget. I watched Captain Planet for the first time since the 90s, and it's rated IE. So I'm watching it, and I'm like, is that Jeff Goldblum's voice on Captain Planet? Yeah, it was sure enough Goldblum's voice.
See, I never watched Captain Planet. I never did. I don't know why. Probably because when it came out, I was still like in that it's not a real comic book character type of mindset, you know what I mean? And so I didn't watch it. So I had no idea. I've never seen an episode, so I wouldn't have known that Jeff Goldblum was in on it.
Apparently he comes back, and like Meg Ryan, I guess, did a voice. Apparently there's a lot of actors like that were well known back in the 90s that did voices on Captain Planet.
Okay, well, must have been the right thing for those folks to do. How should I say that? Politically, to get involved in the environmental superhero. But so anything else going on?
I watched probably the first rom-com that I didn't love. My review is going up on 3 weeks sometime tonight. But I watched A Family Affair on Netflix. It's like the new great cast. Zac Efron, Nicole Kidman, Joey King, Kathy Bates, all in this movie. Everybody in this movie is great except for I love Zac Efron. I think he's a very funny dude. 17 Again is a very underrated comedy. I loved him in Neighbors. but man, his character is just unlikable. And then when he's supposed to have changed, there's no arc to his character at all, and he still comes across as kind of douchey by the end of the movie, even though he's supposed to have changed and been happy. And it was not good, and I was very disappointed because that cast is awesome.
I'm going to throw it out there. Zac Efron should get an Oscar this year for his role in the Iron Claw. I'm just throwing that out there. If he doesn't, it's
a lot of talk about that. A lot of talk about it. Zac Efron's a great actor. I don't know if he was just bored making this movie or not. Everybody else is fantastic. I'm a really big fan of Joey King. She's younger, but she's coming up in the ranks of Hollywood. And yeah, things I've seen her in have been fantastic. It's just unfortunately this movie didn't end. But Nicole Kidman's almost 60 years old. I know there's like Botox or whatever going on, but she's looking good.
Well, you know what? Just to defend Zac Efron's performance, maybe it was the script was bad, you know? So,
well, I mean, everybody else was bringing a performance to it, man. Watch the trailer of it. I think his performance will come across well enough in that.
Okay. All right. Well, one of the things I wanted to mention, since we already know that we're going to be reviewing and discussing the Biker, which is, by the way, a episode that seems to be in heavy rotation on MeTV. I've seen this episode like 3 or 4 times already before reviewing it for the show. But I'm real interested in seeing that movie called The Bike Riders. I think that looks really good. Tom Hardy, Austin Butler. It's got a powerful cast, and I think it's interesting, you know, that it shows the formation of a motorcycle gang and that. However, I just read something today, and I guess I never thought about this, but apparently, like, the head of one of those motorcycle organizations listed a statement that people are cosplaying bikers when they go to see this movie. And it's like, no, you can't do that. Like, people are wearing their vests and the patches. And like this dude that's the head of, I forget if it's the Hells Angels or who it is, came out and said, yeah, you can't be doing that. You should not do that because it might end up badly for you, you know? And I was like, wow, I guess there's people out there that would do that, I guess. But I just kind of was like, really? I mean, I get sci-fi movies and superhero movies you cosplay, but just a regular, ordinary, you know, period piece. Like, I guess it's something that's happening because, I mean, otherwise, why would this guy say that? All right, Jason, are you ready to talk about the Biker? By the way, are you ready?
I'm ready, John.
All right, let's go ahead and gonna get on into it. Let's start off with our opening statement. Well, the Biker originally aired November 27th of 1990. And we have 3 guest stars that I would like to mention. And by no means was it purposely done. It's accidental that all 3 of these guest stars have the first name of Steve or Steven. But let's talk about Stephen Nichols. He'll be playing the role of Cliff Lockwood. Now, you may know him as Stephen Patch Johnson on Days of Our Lives. He was basically a Dollar Tree Snake Plissken. He wore an eye patch and the whole 9 yards. He also played the role of Tucker McCall, on Young and the Restless, Stephen Cassadine on General Hospital, Matt Cain on Empty Nest, and interesting side note about Mr. Stephen Nichols, he's a Dayton, Ohio man. Yeah, born and raised in Dayton.
Well, I hope he plays much more likable characters than all of those other things.
Yeah, well, yeah. Like I said, I recognized him from Days of Our Lives. I was like, that's the guy that was kind of like, yeah, it was Nick Fury-ish. Anyways, anything else you want to throw in there for Mr. Nichols?
Dude, he's still hanging on there with Days of Our Lives.
Oh, I know.
Episodes, good Lord.
I know. And you know what?
Still going.
Here's a question my mother asked about this, and I'm pretty sure. Isn't Days of Our Lives totally on Peacock now? It's not on NBC, correct?
Yeah, it's streaming for sure now.
I think it is. Yeah, I was gonna say I'm pretty sure that they were it was streaming only. So, all right. Well, then let's move on to our next guest star, gentleman by the name of Steve Easton. He will be playing the role of Steve Miller. You may know him as umpire in Austin Powers' The Spy Who Shagged Me. You may also know him as policeman on Nightmare on Elm Street. I want you to tell me. Did you recognize him, or is it just I've never seen Nightmare on Elm Street? So help me out. Is policeman a big role or not a very big role?
That's Nightmare on Elm Street 2, and there's multiple policemen in all of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. I have no idea.
Okay, all right. I'm sorry, it was 2. I left off the 2. My bad. He was also Eddie Circati in Field of Dreams, Guard Falzon in Con Air. More recently, he was Judge John Pollock in The Killers of the Flower Moon, Bill Bennett in Dexter, Cormac Sullivan on the show In Plain Sight, and about another 20 or 30 different roles for him. So there you go for Mr. Easton. He, again, will be playing the role of Steve Miller because, again, we don't have enough Steves mentioned in this episode. So
we need all the Steves.
I think that should be our hashtag for this episode. Hashtag all the Steves. All right, then let's finish off with our last Steve, Stephen Meadows. He will be playing the role of Nicky Tower. You may know him as Boom Boom from the movie V.I. Warshawski, the character Michael in the movie The End of Innocence, Calvin Collier on Friday the 13th, the television series, Patrick London on One Life to Live, Peter Flint on Santa Barbara, and a host of other roles in his career. So what do you think about Mr. Meadows and his resume of...
It's funny. I pull these people up in IMDb as we talk, and as soon as I see 1999 is the last time he acted in something, I panic and I scroll back to the top. He is still with us. So I'm watching something on YouTube about 10 shows that were canceled in the 90s, and the show Nowhere Man came up, and he was in that show. I'm seeing on the IMDb page here.
Nowhere Man. That vaguely rings a bell.
Yeah, lasted one season.
Okay. What else? Just as a side note, what do you remember anything else that was on that list?
No, some alien show that ABC decided to go with instead of Third Rock from the Sun. It looked awful.
Was that Alien Nation?
No. It had like an alien that was very reminiscent to Stewie from Family Guy before Family Guy. He's trying to kill his babysitter with lasers.
Oh my God. I don't even. Okay. Well, that'll be for some more time later to research, but all right, Jason, with that, I have a question for you, as I do every episode. Sir, can I get you to give your opinion, solely your opinion, and only your honest opinion, so help you?
Let's testify.
Let's testify. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the plot of this episode is that a biker is hired to provide security to a movie star and then later is accused of killing him. So our opening scene is just basically a bunch of shots of a motorcycle. They kept it simple this time. And then we go to a scene where there's a theater that's hosting Nicky Tower's new film. All right. And there's a press is all there. And there's a TV reporter there talking about everybody clamoring for this new movie. And then Nicky arrives, right? He arrives, he gets out of the car, and yay, Nicky's here. And then all of a sudden, a motorcycle drives past the theater, pow, 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 and shoots Nicky dead. What a way to start this off. I gotta say, Jason, I don't know if you agreed with it, but man, we're out of the blocks fast.
Yeah, absolutely. Blink, you miss it.
Absolutely on that one. So, you know, we cut to a scene where Ben is trying to get his newspaper, and he's trying to avoid the sprinkler, which was running at the time he was trying to get the sprinkle. And by the way, let's talk about it. Looking kind of spiffy in those pajamas and that robe, don't you think?
Yeah, but I got a question. Do people still run their sprinklers? I don't see sprinklers running like I used to as a kid. Maybe I'm an adult. I'm not looking out for it, but I don't see sprinklers. Like nobody's ever out there with their sprinkler going.
You know what? That might be because I'm assuming, and again, this is the second environmental thing that we've talked about on this show, but it might be an environmental no-no now because you're, you know, using up water and for something that's not maybe 100% needed. I don't know. That's a good point because I'm trying to think. I think there is one person in my neighborhood had a sprinkler going, but that was because they resodded, part of their front yard. So I mean, that's a good point. That might be a thing of the past, dude. Might be. Well, nonetheless,
yards look like crap now. Bring the sprinkler back. Hashtag justice for the sprinkler.
Well, and now you have, True Green or whatever those chemical companies are that'll come and pump your yard full of chemicals, which I'm not a fan of that. I think that's not a good way to go, but that's just me. It's just me, in my humble opinion.
John believes in natural grass.
Well, I do believe in natural gas too, because that's what heats my home. So I'm not a natural gas I'm not anti-natural gas. So all right. Thanks for that, Justin. Thanks. Justin stated that he has a few folks that water their lawn still, apparently. So, all right. Well, let's get back to the episode. Judge Lockwood shows up, and natural gas isn't real. It's a figment of our imaginations. But anyways, Judge Lockwood arrives, and he says, "Hey, look, I need you to help defend my son. All right, my son's gotten himself in some trouble." And Ben's like, "What trouble is that? The Nikki Tower murder? Oh, yeah, I heard about that." But you immediately get the vibe that the judge and his son do not get along, right, Jason?
Yeah, there's problems.
There are some problems. So we go to a scene at police headquarters where Cliff and Ben are talking about the case. And right here, right now, I have to make the statement that I think in terms of casting, that Stephen Nichols, the actor, is by far too pretty of a man to play a biker. I'm just saying it. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to stereotype people that are bikers. I really am not. I'm just saying he looks very pretty for a guy that's supposedly this rough and tumble guy. He doesn't look rough and tumble. He looks very pretty. Jason, what say you?
I didn't get that out of that. Oh my God, he's trying so hard to be a jerk in this entire episode. That's what caught me. It's like, oh my God, it's going to be one of my least favorite types of characters in a movies where they're overdoing it a little bit. And he's definitely overdoing the I'm going to be a jerk.
Yeah. But see, I think that could pass if the dude looks more like what you think of. Like, here's the thing. Like, there's a scene, and I'm going to jump ahead. There's a scene outside the bar where Clarence has to keep Cliff from leaving, so he messes with his bike, right? And all those other guys that were playing bikers look like what you think of when you say bikers. And then they cut to Cliff, and you're like, this guy's like a male model. He does not fit this role. You know what I mean? He just doesn't. All right, but anyways, basically, Cliff mentions that he used to work for Nikki as a security guard, and that he had a gun, but it's all legal and everything, but it was found in a dumpster a few blocks from the murder. And Cliff doesn't really have a very good alibi. He was just out riding his bike, man, and Cliff gets a little bit hostile and angry. And this is probably the first time that you, Jason, was like, yeah, it's not working, because he kind of like, yeah, man, like he gets all mad for no reason, because, and then Ben retorts with, get your feet off the desk, look me in the face, talk to me like a man. And I thought we would get more angry Ben, but it looks like we're only getting 2 doses of angry Ben, which I know might disappoint you.
I mean, I love angry Ben, but man, yeah, we should have had angry Ben through this whole episode.
I agree. Well, we go back to the courthouse, and Miss Renee Williams is on the stand. And Julie is questioning her. And I really like this. They do a flashback to Nikki hiring Cliff, which was good, because I thought to myself, Stephen Meadows, the actor, is only going to be in one scene, where he gets killed off so early. But I like this. This is a different way of presenting the story that we haven't seen in Matlock.
Yeah, so one of the things I've liked about Matlock since season 3 is the setup at the beginning. And at first I'm like, we're not going to get any setup. Like, it's just boom, done. But no, I like this. I don't want to call it a gimmick, but I like this storytelling method of And it goes on for a little while within the episode where somebody's on the stand and then it flashes back.
Yeah. And, so basically Nikki hired Cliff after a fan that was harassing Nikki was kind of put in his place from Cliff. And so he hired him. But in this is the only thing I kept thinking about. I was like, again, I hate to continue to go back to the stereotypes, but if you're supposed to be this bad dude, right? He's supposed to be this big bad dude. Like, you're going to hire him without even questioning like who he is or if he's ever been in trouble with the law, or like, how is your things with the biker, like your events with your biker friends, how that's going to impact you being my bodyguard. Like, nothing's asked. He's just hired on the spot, which I thought was kind of ridiculous, if you ask me.
I don't think he's a big bad dude. I think that's back to him overdoing it with anger and stuff, trying to be tough. I don't think he's a tough dude. I think he's trying to put on that facade, and everything in this episode goes to show you that he's not a tough dude. He's just a jerk face, jackass. I can say that. They said it on Matlock.
Of course, jackass is totally fine. They have another flashback, again with Renee Williams on the stand. Nikki going over sets and set design when Steve Miller busts in the meeting and kind of puts his hands on Nikki and is yelling and threatening him. And so basically Steve lets him go. Steve Miller walks out the door, and that's when Cliff shows up. And I guess this is one of too many times of Cliff not being where he needed to be, and so he gets fired by Nikki. Do you think that Cliff's hair was a wig?
I don't think so, but I don't know. I mean, I've seen pictures of him online. It doesn't look like he had long hair, so probably.
I'm thinking there's some type of I don't want to say extensions, because I know that that's not something that was going on in 1990, but something there. There was some chicanery with his hair. We'll just say that. It was luscious hair, by the way. This is a side note.
I think John's got a man crush over here.
No, not on Stephen Nichols. I do have man crushes. I will tell you that. That is true. Ryan Gosling being the first one that I can name. I do have a man crush on Ryan Gosling. He could do no wrong. If you think he can do wrong, then let us know. And Jason, how can people let us know what they think about Ryan Gosling?
You can email us at benmattalk@gmail.com.
Or you can find us on Facebook. It is Mattalk Podcast. And let us know if you agree with me that Ryan Gosling is a great actor and can do no wrong. All right, let's move back into it. We go back after this flashback to the courtroom again. And this time Ben is going to talk to Renee Williams. And, basically just kind of go back and forth, setting the table as to what her role was in the life of Nikki Tower. So Julie then interviews or questions, a motorcycle salesman and then a police officer, basically talking about the events that happened when they found Cliff on his bike way, way south in Georgia. Ben cross-examines both, and this is where this was all pre-trial, by the way, because this is where we find out that there will be a trial for Cliff. He's not happy about that, is he? As he puts his feet back up on the table, lights another cigarette in the courtroom, and we transition to our next scene. All right, looks like you have a comment. Go ahead, Jason.
No, it's weird to see people smoking indoors. I know it was a thing back then, but it's weird concept now. And we're not even that far removed from it. Smoking inside is not that long ago, but it seems so long ago. Like, I still remember smoking non-smoking sections in like Wendy's. Like, what did that do? Nothing. Because Wendy's is so small that if you sat in the no smoking section, you were still getting the smoke from a cigarette. It's stupid.
Yeah, I agree. We have a meeting of Conrad, Ben, and Cliff, who are all going over, like, hey, man, did anybody see you on your bike? Did you stop and get gas? Did you stop and eat somewhere? Blah, blah, blah. Of which Cliff says no. But Cliff does let this little nugget slip that Steve Miller and Gary Benton, they always were like arguing with one another and arguing with Nikki as well. So we go to a gym, where Ben interviews Steve Miller. Steve Miller was not at the premiere. He doesn't have a very good alibi either. He was, out and about. And I like that Ben tried to pump some iron, and you're shaking your head no. Oh, Ben with his weird, I don't even know what you call that. It's not proper form. We'll just say that, when he was lifting weights. So we go to a scene where Conrad is on a set, and it's he interviews Gary. And Gary it basically talks about how he was making this movie with Nikki, and so now that Nikki's dead, the studio doesn't want anything to do with it, et cetera, et cetera. Weirdly enough, though, Gary made a phone call after he talked to Conrad that I wrote it down as a big clue, but apparently it was nothing. It factored into nothing. So a nice little red herring for the writers of this episode. So Ben interviews Renee Williams, and she claims she had a boyfriend like Cliff. And of course, Renee gets upset because she had mentioned that she did love Nikki. And at this point, I'm like, loved how? As a friend, or are we alluding to they were more than just friends?
Oh, they were.
We would have to wait. Well, we would have to wait to find that out in a little bit. So Conrad and Ben, they talk a little bit more in the car about the case. And Ben is watching to see where Steve Miller is going to come from. And of course, he comes from the music store because he and his band have to sing the Joker and Abracadabra. Okay, that was a bad joke. My bad. Sorry. But Steve Miller comes out of a maternity store, and Ben follows him. And my goodness, this is hilarious because I love how Conrad's like, you don't know how to do this. You're driving too close. And in fact, they get made. Jason, were you a fan of this little comedy?
Yeah, it was fine. It was funny.
Well, they indeed are made by Steve Miller. And so Steve apparently has a daughter, and the daughter is pregnant to Nikki. She's still pregnant to him, but that's what basically Steve was mad about, was that Nikki had knocked up his daughter. And actually, at the time of the crime, he was with his daughter, Vicky. And so that kind of rules out him. So Cliff and his biker pals show up outside Ben's home. And you know what? They said they're taking a road trip. And then Ben said, when you come back, he goes, I ain't, man, because this system of justice ain't going to work for me, man. I'm going to get thrown in the clink, man. I'm taking liberties with his delivery. But Jason, what do you think about this scene here with all the bikers showing up?
He's an idiot. If I was Ben, I just would have dropped him as a client, but I get it. He's friends with the guy's dad. He wants to help him out. But man, I've been like, you're stupid enough to run when you're charged with murder. Then you deserve to go to jail. Yeah.
And then there's a scene that was a little bit heartwarming, I guess you could say, where Conrad and Ben talk about not letting Cliff go, because Conrad's like, man, haven't you ever been wild? No, Mom wouldn't let me. Man, I used to drink and fight and cuss and race cars and all that jazz. That's what Conrad's whole spiel was about. And his dad set him straight and everything else. Some of the other info that Conrad mentions to Ben is that Gary's alibi is a little bit shaky. Many people have said that he purposely, that Nikki purposely rewrote a lot of the script of that movie so it would be a dog. It would be absolutely awful. And then I didn't quite get some of this scene. I think this scene went way too long. Ben meets with Gary at this ritzy pool, right? Mm-hmm. This ritzy hotel at poolside. And basically, Ben's like, hey, this is what I heard, that you were getting this money, and, that there's the rewrites and there's conflict behind with you and Nikki. And then there's this beautiful woman on the other side of the pool, and they had mentioned something about going to therapy or going to see a shrink. And it just got so muddled because then Ben was doing his juvenile Ben looking at butts of the young ladies in swimsuits, and it was a mess. And I thought this whole thing could have been trimmed down and much more concise. What say you?
Oh, 100%. It could have been cut down to half the time easily.
Yeah, is this true? Asking the things about Nikki, yes, 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 or no. Okay, leave. Like, I didn't understand why we had to put all these beautiful women in this scene and whatnot. Like, I was like, what are we doing here, man? Conrad calls Ben and said that he found Cliff. And he's outside this bar. And Ben's like, don't let him leave. I'm on my way. And so Conrad messes with Cliff's bike. So when they all come out and Cliff tries to start his motorcycle, it doesn't run. But some dude that wanted to use the phone after Conrad used the phone pointed out, hey, that guy in the red car, he messed with your bike. And so a beatdown begins, if you will. Although not a very bad beatdown, but still, nonetheless, they start roughing him up. And then Ben rolls in there like he's going to hit somebody with the Crown Vic. Beep, 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 beep.
Yeah, Ben rolls up like he's Batman.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. And then there's the showdown. The second time we see Angry Ben, a showdown between Cliff and Ben. Get in the car. Get in the car. You ain't got a chance in hell if you don't have me. Get in the car. I don't know. I had mixed feelings on the scene. What say you?
Again, Ben's trying way too hard for this. I'm sure he's not getting paid for it. I like, dude, he's an adult. Like, if he wants to be an idiot and run off and do biker things until he gets caught by the police and then for sure go to jail because they'll just use that against him, and that's his prerogative. But
yeah, and like Ben talks some sense into him, like you knew that was going to happen, and he gets in the car and he plays the your dad would be so disappointed in you card, which I don't know, that we'll get to that later, but
he doesn't seem to care about that either.
No, he doesn't. So it's like, why even try to leverage that? So we go to a scene where Ben is watching footage of the murder, and Conrad stops by, with some apple pie. And Ben finds a clue by watching the tape over and over again. So we go to the courtroom, and I did write down, Cliff actually cleans up pretty well, does he not?
Yeah, he did fine.
He did. So we get the motorcycle salesman on the stand. Ben wants to introduce something into evidence. That would be the motorcycle that belongs to Cliff. And one of the bikers drives it into the courtroom, which I do like when Julie goes, we said you can bring it in, not write it in. That was really some good comedy. But seriously, wouldn't that courtroom be filled with exhaust fumes now? You know what I mean?
Listen, John, they got a really good ventilation system in the courtroom in Atlanta in the 90s, and it's fine. No, absolutely, man. Like, videotape would be suffice, I would think.
The fact, and the best part is they cut to a scene of the judge, and the judge just looks absolutely defeated. Like, he's like, all right, whatever, Ben. I thought that was hilarious. So basically, the big key evidence is a set of exhausts, double exhaust versus single exhaust. And basically, the motorcycle salesman says, I installed those double exhausts right before the murder. So like 6 weeks before the murder. So they were on there. And in the videotape, the bike that the individual was riding only had a single exhaust. So Renee Williams is called to the stand. Nikki had her taking care of all of his permits, insurance papers, all that jazz. So Cliff would have to, number one, mention that he had several guns, and number two, have to describe this motorcycle in detail, in which that information then was used in another shop way far away in another part of Georgia to rent a similar bike, just like Cliff's. Nikki gave Renee a bracelet, and what Ben found out was, and I think we've heard about this before in a previous episode from season 1, I believe, with Linda Pearl, interviewed a suspect, and I can't remember the name of the episode, where he did the same thing. Basically, this dude's a player. He's got that bracelet. He's got it. Basically, he's got a dozen of them with all the same inscriptions. That's some lovey-dovey stuff, man. And so Renee says how much, again, she loved Nikki. Ben doesn't believe it. Ben says, you know what you did? You rented this bike. You drove past. You shot Nikki. You parked it in a van, closed it up, You change clothes. You ended up back at the scene of the crime so that you could be there and you would have an alibi. And again, Renee says that's ridiculous. You're foolish, old man. But then Ben pulls out a photograph that a passerby, this is somebody who was in the crowd, and he shows Renee Williams, and it shows her from a far distance because this camera had a huge lens on it. And in the reflection of the window, you could see her with the gun and putting her helmet on. And there you go. That is the evidence that will get Cliff off. Anyway, so then we come to the close out in the hallway where Cliff and his dad have a moment in the courtroom hall. And then as the biker is pulling the bike or pushing the bike out of the courtroom, he offers Ben a ride, and Ben says, "What the hell?" and jumps on the back of it. So that concludes the biker, ladies and gentlemen. So, Jason, anything that we forgot? Anything else we need to discuss real quick?
I have nothing.
Nothing? Well, all right, then. Let's go ahead. Let's get on into our closing statements.
This is the podcast where John and I will rate the show on a gavel system. 1 gavel means we didn't like it. 5 gavels means that we loved it. And negative 27 gavels means we are no longer doing this show. We're going to focus on doing canceled shows that absolutely are awful for the rest of our lives.
That's not actually a bad idea for a podcast. Anyways, enough about that. Jason, you going first or me going first?
I didn't like this episode. If it didn't come across in not only am I exhausted, but I'm also I was bored watching this. I watched it twice to see if maybe I was just tired the first time, but no, my sentence that just the characters over anger which just bothered me. And yeah, I don't know. It just wasn't for me. So not negative. I did not mean to say negative. There's no negative.
Jeez, wait a minute. That's a joke that we always make. We're not giving negative scores. Come on, man.
I'd give it a 2 out of 5.
Ooh, okay.
I did like the gimmick, which is why I give it a higher score than I probably would, because I did like the story structure of the episode.
Well, I did too. I gave it 3 gavels. I liked that we had a little bit more of Julie versus Ben. The use of flashbacks. I like the way they told the story. I didn't even mind that because they had the right amount of the family storyline of the dad and Cliff not getting along. Like, it wasn't over the top and it wasn't too little or too much. But the negatives, yeah. Number 1, I felt like the love affair motive was a little bit weak. So he dumped you and he's a player, so you have to shoot and kill him. Like, I don't know. Because there was something about that plot that just irked me. Cliff is way too pretty, as I said. And just randomly, they did skip over the fact, did Renee Williams know how to drive a motorcycle?
Apparently she did.
No explanation there. So, but I 3, like I said, it wasn't great. It wasn't terrible. It was right down the middle. Ergo, well, I gave it a 3. Jason, it's time to talk about our podcasting projects. What's happening with the 3 Geeks podcast?
Guys, Justin dropped my review for that movie I talked about earlier over on the YouTube channel. To go over there at 3 Geeks Podcast. We are back this week on Saturday. Finally, we took a couple weeks off. Just some craziness in the schedule. One of us went on vacation, forgot to tell everybody else. But anyway, it's fine. We're back next week. We might be doing Remake Revolution. We might not. I have no idea what is happening with that. But stay tuned, guys. It's going to be a lot of fun.
The funny thing is, you gave me crap for taking a vacation, and now you're like, "Oh, we're back Saturday," because we've been off for a couple of weeks. I see how this works. It wasn't
for me though. Like, me and Justin put in a college try. No, it's all good, man. It happens. I get it. I'm just messing around. But we did interview Burt Ward, and that should be coming out very, very soon. I got to re-record the intro to that episode, but yeah, that'll be coming out. Burt Ward, he's such a great guy. Like, sure, a lot of the stuff, especially when it comes to animals, has been a retread from the last couple times he was on. But, you know, he won an award from the president, which is really cool. And we get to talk to him about that. And some cool Batman stuff that we have not talked about yet that comes up. So, guys, definitely keep an eye out for that.
Well, I, too, will be getting back in the saddle here this week, as there will be a new episode of the PVD cast dropping later on in the week. Yes, I took a vacation as well. So looking forward to being back on the airwaves, so to speak. So just check that out at pvdcast.com or wherever you find great podcasts. All right, Jason, should we get on out of here, man?
We shall.
All right, and as they say in court, nothing further.
Probably should have tied up the closing music, guys. I'm so sorry. I had some issues. We'll talk soon. Bye.